Howdy folks, welcome back to the World of Tanks patch 9.3 test server. While it's still up, can't be up for much longer. These things are probably going to be hitting the live server within a week or so. With the mighty Jingles today, we're having a look at another of the tier 7 light tanks, the LTTB. The speed demon that this thing is. I have to admit, I had great expectations for this tank. The first couple of training rooms that I jumped into and just drove around the map on this thing, the mobility of this tank is absolutely ridiculous. However, it does have a bit of an Achilles heel, but more on that later. Just to compare this thing against the other tier 7 light tanks, and yes, I did remember the Chinese this time. The Chinese actually have two tier 7 light tanks, one of them a premium, the Type 62 and the WZ131. Comparing the stats of this thing against the other tier 7 light tanks, and without pulling them all up and spending 10 minutes just analysing the numbers, what do you need to know about the LTTB in comparison to its competitors? Well, it's got a lot of health. It's got as much as the German tier 7 light tank, the Aufklärungspanzer, which has a lot of health. It's based on a Panther. It's very, very light. It only weighs 22 to 24 tons. And it has a 700 horsepower engine. Now, it doesn't have the most powerful engine of the tier 7 light tanks. That particular honour goes to the Aufklärungspanzer Panther, but that thing is twice the weight of the LTTB. It's a 40-ton light tank. This thing only weighs 22 to 24 tons with a 700 horsepower engine. Gives this thing a power to weight ratio of 30.46 horsepower per ton. That is phenomenally good. The closest competitor to that amongst the other tier 7 light tanks is the WZ131, which has 24.36. It's not even close, and that has the second best power to weight ratio of the tier 7 light tanks. As far as raw top speed is concerned, this little thing doesn't disappoint either, with only the Walker Bulldog, the new American tier 7 light tank, being faster with its 72 kilometers per hour. This thing will do 68 kilometers per hour. Not only does it have the best power to weight ratio by far, it's also the second fastest, and it's not that much slower than the Walker Bulldog. Unfortunately, from here on in, everything isn't quite as rosy. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not as good. We're talking about things like the traverse speed of the hull and the turret. How good is this little thing at dogfighting when it gets in close? And it's not that good. It's certainly not bad. I mean, it's better than most mediums and heavies, for example, but it's not very good compared to the other tier 7 lights. In fact, only the AMX 1375 has worse hull and turret traverse than the LTTB. Hull turns 48 degrees per second, turret 48 degrees per second. But again, you know, you need to keep this into context. It's still way more manoeuvrable than equivalent or even higher tier medium and heavy tanks. It's just not quite as nimble in close quarters as the other tier 7 lights. View range and signal range, it has a 390 meter view range, but only the M41 Walker Bulldog has a 400 meter view range at tier 7. All of the others have 390 or less. The signal range is average, 730 meters. It's still pretty good. It's just not quite as good as some of the other tier 7 lights, which have anything up to 750 meter signal range. However, there is more good news, and to show you that, we're going to flash up Tank Inspector. Flashing up Tank Inspector to take a closer look at this thing reveals a couple of surprises. For a start, it's actually very well armoured. The upper glacis is 90mm thick, as is the front of the turret. The lower glacis is 75mm thick, and it's very, very well sloped. Which basically means that if you're shooting at the front of this tank, even square on, even if the tank isn't angling, you're going to need a gun that has a minimum of 150mm penetration to get through. So that's bad news for a lot of the tier 7 medium tanks. The sides and rear, of course, are, well, trash. 75mm on the turret, 45 on the hull, and the rear, yeah. Well, it's the rear of a light tank. Nobody expects it to be well armoured. Also, the survivability of the various different modules on the tank this was quite interesting. If you look at the amount of health that all the different modules have, the ammo rack, the fuel tank, the engine, and so on and so on, the ammo rack actually has more health than your average tier 7 light tank. So the tank shouldn't get ammo racked too often. Well, the bad news is that the fuel tank and the engine and the tracks and the gun have lower health than the equivalent tier 7 light tank. So this thing is going to get set on fire more often than average, and it's going to get its engine knocked out, and it's going to get its tracks blown off relatively easily compared to the other tier 7 light tanks. So what we have here is a ridiculously powerful, very, very fast, relatively manoeuvrable, quite well armoured little tier 7 light tank. And the gun is not bad either. It's an 85mm, well, choices of 3 different 85mm guns. The top gun is not bad. The rate of fire is good, 11.76 rounds per minute. The penetration with standard ammunition is 170, which is perfectly adequate for a light tank. 216 with premium APCR ammunition and 44 with high explosive. The damage is 180 per shot, with both types of armor piercing, and 300 with high explosive. The accuracy of 0.36 is not bad for a Russian tank, and the aiming time is actually pretty good as well. It's just a hair over 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds. So where's this Achilles heel you were talking about, Jingles? What exactly is wrong with this tank? Well, it's to do with the gun. It only has 3 degrees of gun depression. That's pretty terrible. 15 degrees of gun elevation, but only 3 degrees of gun depression. In practical terms, what that means is if you get this tank into a circling dogfight with, for example, a Type 59, you won't be able to point the gun down low enough to hit him in the hull, and you'll have to shoot him in the side of the turret. Also, when you're cresting ridgelines in this thing, you're going to be very, very grateful for that 90mm of frontal armour, because you pretty much have to drive all the way over the ridge in order to shoot down at things on the other side, and that means you're going to get shot at. However, those of you who are used to driving French lights and high-tier mediums, and pretty much all of the Chinese tanks, will not find this to be a problem whatsoever, because you're used to driving tanks that have terrible gun depression. I had big issues with the LTTB because I am terrible at driving tanks with bad gun depression, and the LTTB has bad gun depression, so I had real issues with this thing. Doesn't mean it's a bad tank, far from it. It's a fantastically good tank, but I was really unable to do well in it, because I suck at driving tanks that have lousy gun depression. And it's a real shame, because I really, really wanted to like this tank. Driving it is like driving the old T50-2. It is that much fun. Until you try to point the gun at a target. And I just failed miserably, over and over and over and over. Not a bad tank, I'm just bad at driving it. And to show you the sort of thing I'm talking about, let's have a look at a couple of replays. And, then we'll show you somebody who doesn't suck at driving the LTTB. And can actually show you what this thing is capable of doing. This is my first proper game in the LTTB. I'd driven it around in training rooms, just herpa-derping around and purely just having fun throwing this thing around the map. Look at that. Power-to-weight ratio of this thing is so good, it reaches that top speed practically instantaneously. It's a ridiculously quick little thing. Hell of a lot of fun to drive. I take a quick look at the gun depression there and think, it doesn't look very good, but I had no idea just how bad it was. I'm about to find out the hard way. So come up to the top of the ridge, and I figure I'll just get a couple of quick shots in at the guys that have already been spotted on the other side. And what's going on with the gun? Why can't I point the gun at that Walker Bulldog? And I have to come so far over the ridge. I fire one shot, see the Rheinmetall balls of game, and at me think, oh, screw that. Back up. He fires and misses. Took 2 hits there. One from an AF Klaringspanzer, probably firing heat at me. It's the test server. Everybody fires gold ammo. So my armour really hasn't had much of a workout so far, but it will in the next replay. You'll see what the armour on this thing is good for. But again, I'm practically on level ground here, and I can't point the gun of the tank. Finally, Get a shot at the E25, might have hit him, might not, difficult to say. Still having problems with the gun depression, just can't get this thing pointed at targets. And once again, look at this, that is so bad, the gun's actually pointing in the air. And I'm trying to figure out just how to actually get this thing pointed at a target. Without, you know, look at that. That is just absurd. That is just ridiculously bad gun depression. I'm on level ground and I can't even point at a target on a hill 400 meters away from it. Now, I eventually figure it out. You basically have to point the tank downhill and then shoot over the side in order to be able to bring the gun to bear on targets. The gun depression is that bad. But hey, look on the bright side. If I can't get my gun down, then that LTTB up there can't get his gun down, which means I can put a shot into him without any danger of return fire. So I'm standing a good chance of killing this guy right until his friend in the IS-6 appears and suddenly evens the odds up a little. I take one more shot at this guy, but the gun depression is so shit. The shot sails right over the back of his tank, and it's around about here where I realise, oh crap, I'm the furthest one forward, everybody else on my team that came this way is dead, and I'm in a light tank. So, but hey, now I know exactly what to expect from the gun. So I immediately had another go, and again the matchmaker is being pretty generous to me. It's a tier 8 game. I mean, this thing can get into tier 10 matches, and at least my first couple of games it kept putting me into tier 8 games, which is fantastic news when you're driving a tier 7 light. And we seem to have all of the E25s and Walker Bulldogs. Shitty gun depression once again. Just cannot get this gun pointed down at these guys. Not without driving right around the corner. So I'm just not going to fight on that corner. It would be asking for trouble. Instead, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to stick with the pack. And, well, you're going to see a couple of things here. You're going to see, first of all, confirmation of just how weak the ammo rack of the M41 Bulldog is. Yep, there he goes. But you're also going to see how effective the frontal armour of the LTTB is. Ding! There you go. Now, I have no way of telling because I don't have the damage received mod installed on the test server, but I am, well, it's the test server. They give you 100 million credits, they give you a metric shit ton of gold. Everybody uses premium ammunition, but even premium APCR at these kind of angles and with this kind of sloping, the LTTB's armour can take it. Now, I should have figured out to aim for this guy's turret, because these shots are just bouncing. I mean, he's an LTTB, sloped and angled, I'm an LTTB, sloped and angled, and he figured it out before I did. Shoot for the turret. However, it's around about now where I've suddenly noticed, hang on a minute, what's that behind us? We've managed to get encircled. There's a tier 8 heavy. Oh, balls. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who's noticed him, other than, you know, the guys that he's killed. So somebody's going to have to go back and at least try to hold him off. Comes around the corner, he's definitely aiming up at a friend. I'm trying to blow his tracks off to buy us a bit of time. It misses, of course, but he's just fired, so get around him. Bang. He's also taken a big hit from somebody else there, and another one. Get another shot into him. He's swinging the gun around. Get the hell out of there. He fires and completely misses. So, well, what the hell? This thing could do 20 kilometers per hour in reverse, and it's definitely got the engine power for it. And I just nailed myself a tier 8 heavy tank. That was the good news. The bad news is that everybody who went around that corner with me is now dead. There are at least 4 enemy tanks coming around there, so I put the pedal to the metal to get around behind them. Now, the LTTB is fast, but in the space of time it takes me to get around here, we were losing 5.7, then 5.8, then 5.9, then 5.10, then 5.11, and I am now completely alone on this side of the map against 5 enemy tanks. And let's just say that the high point of this replay was 30 seconds ago when I killed the 112, and we'll move on to the next match. So, it's official, I suck in the LTTB. I like the tank, but I'm no good at driving it. This is a high hamster. He sent me this replay from the test server. He normally plays on the North American server, and look at all of the T49s in this match. It's a tier 9 game. He's one of only 4 tier 7 tanks in the entire match. Pretty brutal matchmaking, but it's a tier 9 game. This is actually average matchmaking for a tier 7 light tank. Those T49s though, any one of them can potentially one-shot kill this tank. 910 average damage with a high explosive. Slightly high roll is 950 health, all gone. Now Hamster is also going to have problems with the gun depression. It's something you have to constantly be thinking about when you're driving this tank. Oh, sneaky little power slide there as he comes around the corner. Now, the first set of fighting that occurred in this replay was right here in the middle of the map, just around this corner to the right. Now, bear in mind, when you're coming up here, you are driving up a very, very shallow incline. And this is going to give him problems. There's a T49 that's just fired, and is backed off around this corner to reload. He sees the LTTB, thinks, shit, 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 shit. Hamster cannot get the gun down low enough at point blank range coming up around that corner to hit the T49. His shot sailed right over the top of his turret. He reloads in time to hit the AMX, hits the T49, and there's that 0.6 accuracy for you. So the T49 is going to be reloading for the better part of 20 seconds, and Hamster realises the kind of shit that he's in here if that T49 comes after him. He backs off, and he lies up in ambush around behind this rock. He's having a look behind him, see if anybody else is coming around from the other side. Doesn't look like he's being pursued by the T49. He's probably just glad that Hamster isn't taking another shot at him. And having a look over at the other side, there's a Walker Bulldog down there, but the guy's... Screw it, he's going up after... This is where the main fight is, and this is where he runs into his first major problem of the day. He takes a gamble that nobody's paying attention, and initially it pays off. This T49 right in front of him is thinking, oh, I'll back off to reload. Oh crap, it's that LTTB again. Unfortunately, now he has reloaded. Hamster's gun depression fails him again, and he doesn't get lucky with the T49 twice. He's on fire. He does not have a fire extinguisher. Now his ammo rack's on fire, so he uses his premium toolkit to fix all of his modules and prays that the fire goes out in time, and it does. So, yeah, that could have gone better. Admittedly, you could say that he was lucky he didn't just get one-shotted by the T49, but now he's got less than 200 health left, and it's not just the T49s he needs to worry about. Well, he's clearly had enough of not being able to fire at tanks 20 feet in front of him because they happen to be 2 feet lower down in the ground than he is, and he's coming around to back up this SU-12254 and T-54 lightweight against, what's that, an E-50 and a Walker Bulldog. Now the E-50 was on full health, he's just taken a hit, they've killed the Walker Bulldog. And he's not mad enough to try going face to face against an E-50, and I thought that what he was going to do here was come around and go up behind all those T-49s and what have you in the middle, which seemed like a good idea, but then he does something that I just thought was suicidal. The E-50's just killed the SU-12254, the T-54 lightweight is trying to put shots into him. Look at this guy. Look at the health difference between these two tanks. He's practically got 10 times, more than 10 times the health that Hamster has in his LTTB. The E-50 fires, kills the T-54 lightweight. Hamster goes for it. He blows his tracks off, but he goes too far around him. And, oh, he have screwed this up. He's got you now. Nope, he's missed. But no, the E-50 is reversing. He's putting his back up against a solid object so Hamster can't get around him. He knows what he's doing, and then he moves around so that Hamster can get around him. And he misses him again. How is this even possible? Look at this. This is just... I have no words for this. When Hamster went around that corner against this E-50, Hamster had 122 health, and the E-50, which is a tier 9 medium tank, had nearly 1,000 health. And yet somehow the E-50's dead, and Hamster isn't. And even he can't believe what just happened. Unfortunately, he's still got a bit of a hill to climb. But hey, at least there's one less T-49 to worry about. Oh, that must have been so satisfying. Not as satisfying as killing the E50, of course. Well, there's 3 of them left now against 4. The Object 704 doesn't have an awful lot of health left. He must have been hammered by those T49s. They also have a KV4 with about 900 health remaining. Problem is, the KV4 has decided he's going to go and do his own thing, and he's going to go and sit in the cap circle. Who caps on the test server? Really? What exactly are you testing? Well, apparently if I sit in the flag for a minute, the game ends. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Anyway. Well, Hamster and the Object 704 still want to make a fight at it. Now, the enemy Tortoise. The T49s could be anywhere. Oh, in fact, the T49s have just gone back to kill the KV4, who's telling everybody where he is when he's outnumbered by sitting in the cap circle. So, yeah. And there's the Tiger 2. Now, he has been spotted, but the Object 704 is coming over to back him up. The Tortoise is somewhere in the southwestern quadrant of the map, and the dangerous thing here is that if that Tiger 2 spots him, the Tortoise could be in a position to shoot at him. But the Tiger 2 looks like he's more occupied with the Object 704 at the moment. No, he can't make his mind up. He's fired and missed. Okay, they're going to go for it. And you're going to have to get down off this ridge if you want to shoot the Tiger 2. The Object slaps one into the Tiger 2, the Tiger 2 kills the Object, and he is never going to reload in time to get out of that one alive with an LTTB behind him. Hamster immediately dives for cover, just in case that Tortoise is lining up for a shot on him, but right as he does so, Tortoise gives his own position away. He's sitting in our cap circle. And meanwhile, the KV4 is somehow still alive. Those 2 T49s have taken an awful long time killing him. KV4 hasn't managed to kill either of them either. But that means that all Hamster has to worry about is the Tortoise. The KV4's keeping the 2 T49s occupied. Now the Tortoise knows where Hamster was, because he just watched him kill the Tiger 2. And Hamster knows that the Tortoise is likely to be aiming at where the Tiger 2 died. It's the shortest route to the cap circle, so there's no rush. It takes time to cap, and he's in a very, very quick tank. So instead, knowing that the T49s are occupied with killing the KV4, and they've just done it, and knowing which way the Tortoise is likely to be pointing his gun, he takes the long way around and comes out behind the Tortoise. How do you like them apples? And while going around a corner on very, very low health against an E50 may have seemed suicidal, this just, it isn't even a contest. There is absolutely no way a Tortoise is getting out of this one alive. Now he just has to worry about the 2 T49s. And yep, they can one-shot kill him, but hey, the T49s could one-shot kill him when he was on full health anyway, so the amount of health he has remaining isn't really an issue. So this should be easy. He's just got 2 tier 8s to kill, both of which can one-shot kill him, and he's won. It would be nice if they weren't on full health. Now, I was wondering what the hell is he doing here? But all will become apparent. Remember, the T49 has something like a 3.4 or 3.6 second aiming time. He only has a 2.1 second aiming time. Getting the first shot off, and wow, whoa, what a shot. What a shot. RNGesus was smiling on him today. Unbelievable. There was practically nothing of that T49 showing. But where's the other one? If they have any sense, they'd be sticking together, but no. Oh, he's been spotted. There he is. He's missed. Oh, no. Oh, he's missed. Oh, he's missed again. Come on. There we go. That's more like it. Oh, man. I had visions of him throwing it all away right at the end there, but no, he did it. What a game. So that was a high Hamster from the North American server, showing us just exactly what an ace tanker badge looks like in the LTTB. And he did have problems with the gun depression on this tank as well. It almost got him killed a couple of times, but he managed to deal with it. And 3,157 damage with a tier 7 light tank in a tier 9 match with a gun that only does 170 damage per shot and is almost impossible to point at the target. That's pretty bloody good. So there you go, the LTTB in the hands of somebody who's actually competent and doing very, very well in it indeed. A quick look before we finish at the research tree, and it sits, there it is, next to the A44. You get to the LTTB via the MT25 at tier 6, and it will set you back 59,150 experience and 1.38 million credits. Now, as far as unlocking the modules is concerned, well, obviously you're going to have to pay for the tracks. That's only 9,500 XP. The top engine you should already have from the MT25 at tier 6. The radio, a whole bunch of different tanks that use this radio, the SU-101, Object 704, T-44, also MT25, so you should already have it. The two guns, well, the first gun is unlocked on the IS, the T-3485, the T-44, the T-43. If you have any of these tanks, you should already have the first gun unlocked. And the second gun, unfortunately, is only available on the LTTB, so you will have to grind out the experience for that. That will, it's not that bad actually, 16,200 experience. That's not going to take long at all. 76,000 credits. LTTB, of course, leads to the T54 Lightweight, which you will be playing for 96,300 experience worth of games before you unlock that. So, is this a good tank? Hell yes. It's an amazing little tank. I'm just terrible at driving it, because I'm just bad at driving tanks with bad gun depression. And make no mistake, this tank does have bad gun depression, but it's got easily the best power to weight ratio of any of the tier 7 light tanks. Hell, it's got a better power to weight ratio than any of the tier 8 light tanks. This is a powerful little tank. It's fast, it's well armoured, the gun is not bad at all, aside from the lousy gun depression. It's just a great little tank. Just because I'm no good at driving it doesn't mean it's bad, it just means I'm bad at driving it. And I would definitely recommend this thing as being a hell of a lot of fun to drive. I don't think it's going to replace the Walker Bulldog at tier 7 in my estimations. I absolutely adore that tank, but this thing is definitely going to have its fans as well. As always, folks, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.